6620.
Yeah.
It is Illuminator.
It's not the 6600 that everybody's used, but
It is a 6600.
wait, I think 6020.
6620. Okay, it's in the
6600 is the one
series.
everybody's pretty much used.
So, yeah.
Is this a 8 or 4 ohm speaker?
It's a 4-ohm woofer.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess we'll talk about it
Man, he was talking. Oh, we talked.
Ain't got no troubles in my life.
We'll talk about it now.
Talk about it now.
All right
Might
then.
have to.
So last year, Seth said that he would like to do a collaboration with somebody, but he wasn't a crossover guy. And I said, what the heck, I'll help you out. And that turned out to be a match made in heaven. And because it turned out that we both brought what we did best to this speaker. And it ended up being the Spirit Winds that I brought last year in the rosewood, in a most beautiful cabinet I think I'd ever seen that Seth put together for me. So, and so I tried to do it justice by putting together what I felt was a really nice crossover and integration. Spirit Winds remain my favorite speaker that I've got.
And it should.
And in fact, next year I plan to bring them back in three-way form with a bass module that Seth and I will also build together, and hopefully I will attempt to blow everybody away with that one. But this year we did it again, so it's the same two of us. Last year I got to keep the pair of speakers. This year the speakers belong to Seth, and so I let him pick what he wanted. We talked about different drivers and things, and he decided that he was willing to take the plunge and went for some Illuminator, ScanSpeak Illuminator woofers and tweeters, and then he picked out this veneer. I'll let him talk about the veneer in a minute because it's kind of unusual. And but the drivers, he sent me the raw cabinet and the drivers, and it's the first time I'd ever worked with this woofer. It's the 18W. I don't remember all of the.
Yeah, I don't know that one either.
Bunch of letters and numbers.
CTW.
No, well, 18WU, there's a 47 something.
Anyway, it has the Neo motor, Illuminator driver with the Neo motor with the little rib that goes
Which never
around
should
it.
be covered up inside a box.
And but this was one of the nicest midwoofers I'd ever worked with. It had just exceptionally wide response, kind of like the Satori has. Really, really wide bandwidth, really smooth response. But it had a low FS. It's got nice X-Max, like 9mm for a midwoofer. And it's also got a really flat impedance curve. And I was able to work with just the simplest crossover and get like a textbook second-order acoustic response out of it. We ended up going with a true, and this is hard to do. This really is. If you've done this a long time, you'll know what I mean. LR4 crossovers are just really easy because speakers lend themselves to that. With the second-order roll-off that tweeters already have, you're usually able to get good phase alignment with the offsets that flat baffles give you with an LR4 type of design. I mean, everybody seems to be able to get that kind of design pretty easily. If you want to do a true acoustic second-order crossover, it's harder to pull it off. And you really need help from your speakers. Well, these drivers gave themselves over to that. This Illuminator tweeter has got an FS down in a 400 hertz range, even though it's not a very big tweeter. It extends flat down almost to 500 hertz on the baffle. And then between it and the fact that the woofer has such wide bandwidth, I was able to use a fairly simple crossover and get a textbook acoustic second order acoustic crossover out of it. And I mean, it matches so well that the tweeter is wired with reverse polarity and everything to get everything to come out just right. Very flat response, very smooth. It's got that power response that you recognize from a second order system that's real smooth through the crossover range. And I was real happy with the way they turned out. So I think this is a really neat speaker. At least, I haven't heard them as a pair yet. I worked with one speaker at home. And so this will be the first time I've heard them as a pair. Now let Seth talk about what he did with this veneer.
So these actually stay second order? There's no tapering to third or anything like that?
Well, I mean, once you get way outside the bandwidth, it will, just because the tweeter's going to have a roll-off way down there. But But they're crossing over at about 2.1, 2.2K second order, and it stays second order on both sides for more than an octave.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
it does a really nice job of matching it almost perfectly.
So the cabinets are 1-inch MDF, and they do have a 5-degree tilt back, and the front baffle and the back baffle are parallel, which actually is really a nightmare because you lose all reference to 90 degrees. So these cabinets, I built a lot of cabinets. I really struggled with these ones. In the end, they turned out okay, but so 1-inch MDF all the way around. I used mitered corners, so I wouldn't have any telegraphing of seams and that kind of stuff. I went bigger on my roundovers this time. I normally go 3/4 of an inch in. This time I went 1 inch in just because I wanted that bigger roundover. All that's just cut right on my table saw. Somebody was asking about that earlier, and I take slices. There's probably 10 slices per curve, and then just sand it smooth. And then I do unbacked veneer because I like the edge detail that I can get from that. So this is bird's eye maple that I put on. I normally, so on Jeff's pair, I did sequenced veneer. So basically the two sheets look the same. And when I do that, I can get exact grain matching on each speaker. When I bought this from Certain Wood, they told me it was sequenced, but they lied. So I couldn't quite get the detail matching that I wanted. But so anyway, I put the veneer on, and then I knew I wanted to dye it because dyeing really makes the grain pop, and they look terrible and bland in here, but you take them outside, and Bill got some really great photos that I'm hoping he might post, and so you guys can see the popping of the grain.
Is that the aniline dye then? Or?
Yeah, it's trans aniline dye, yep, that's what's on there. So the way I did this is I dyed it complete, and then I sanded it all the way down. And what happens is the hard spots in the wood, the dye sands right off, and the soft spots it stays in. And then I put another coat on, and that just brings the grain to jump that much more. So it's really unfortunate that the lighting is what it is in here because you can't really see what they can do. But anyway, and then just sprayed lacquer, which is my normal finish. So I was hoping I could do justice to the crossover design that Jeff pulled off. And
one quick sidebar on that too. He sent me the speaker. I didn't know it was going to have a little tilt back to the baffle or anything like that. I didn't know exactly what it would look like. So one of the first things I do, like all of us do, we grab the response of the tweeter, the woofer, the two together. We go to figure out what the acoustic offset is, right? When I threw them in and I imported the summed response, it laid right over the top of it, and it was exactly aligned, just perfectly. I didn't have to adjust anything. It wasn't even 1 millimeter off. They were just perfectly time aligned. So that was what told me I could probably go with the second order acoustic roll-off because you kind of need a good time alignment for those. And so they turned out to be time aligned as well.
Well, how would you determine that angle? How do you determine the angle?
He just did it himself. We
5
got
degrees.
lucky.
I've done speakers like this before where they're tilted back, and 5 degrees is always my preferred. I just like the way it looks. So
It's visual.
So
Yeah.
it's something you preferred rather than...
yeah, I mean, I'm not a crossover designer, so I had no idea that was going to.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I knew exactly it was going to work that way. No, I just like the way 5 degrees to me is. I like that look. So.
All right, now we can listen.
Yes.
Ain't got no troubles in my life, no foolish dreams to make me cry. I'm never frightened or worried. I know I'll always get by. I heat up, I cool down. When something gets in my way, I go around it. Don't let life get me down. Gonna take it the way that I found it, y'all. I got music in me. I got music in me. I got music in me.
like that.
Next one's pretty good too. What's the low frequency? That.
It's a Sheffield track record. You need You need a record player for that song.
Oh, that's
I
what
wanted
Doug
to cook
Sax
mustard.
would tell you. He's not with us anymore, so.
You hear that?
No.
So that's what Doug Sachs would tell you, but he's not with us anymore.
That's dynamics, yeah. And that is the first song I ever heard at Jeff's played on his pair of speakers he had at the time.
Really?
Yes,
That
he
was
played
it?
that the first thing you kicked on.
Yeah.
Which speakers?
Which speakers
David's.
were the Davids?
The original cabinets.
The Davids are sitting in, oh, the original cabinets
The
are
original
around,
cabinets, yeah.
but the remake is sitting in Ryan's house right now.
Get you a lucky dog right now. You purchase them?
Ooh, well.
Here, I thought you weren't gonna give them up.
I keep doing a new set, like, I guess I've never heard of them.
He knows where I live. I'll trade him for the spare one.
Yes?
Yeah, just keep going with that. That's great.
Steve's in the zone.
Steve is in
Keep
there.
it going.
That's great. I'd really like a copy of that.
With the CD?
Yeah, that was great.
There's a name or something.
Can they copy anything here? They got any, a burner or anything?
I can do it on my computer.
There you go.
Hey, now.
I can see nothing. Nothing
I
happened.
was gonna let Mark look at it.
Never happened.